I recently had a friend talk to me about mold. She was really in over her head. She didn't have anybody else to talk to. And since we had mold as part of our discovery process for why we got sick, it was something I was really happy to talk to her about, and I want to share with you too if you're in the same position. If you are having struggles with your Lyme journey and you're getting better, if you're going to a doctor somewhere out of state, or you feel like you get better and then you go back home and you're regressing and you're getting worse and you're very up and down, part of that could be a very typical Lyme healing. Your body needs time in the ebb and flow to heal. It does take rest periods and what seem like regressions in order to get well. But if you are really backsliding, and you just have a nagging feeling that there's something else, then you need to investigate what that could be. There are a variety of different things. This one we're going to talk about mold. If there is mold in your healing environment, you are not going to get well. It's making you sicker and sicker. So the most important thing you can do is to get mold tested. Whether that's your parents' house or your boyfriend's house, or you share your own apartment or a roommate. If it is your own home, get tested. If you are renting, I suggest that you go to your local hardware store, your Home Depot. You can order them on Amazon, a home mold test. That's what I would do if I was renting. If I was owning my own home, I would want to dig deeper, so I could really determine the cause and know how to fix it. If you're renting in any of your home tests, I would do like one in the bedroom and one in the living room or the bathroom. And if any of them come back with any abnormality, you need to move. That's just it. Bottom line, you can't do anything about the mold. Your landlord possibly would fix it, but I highly doubt they would fix it to your level of necessity in order to heal. So that's for renters. Or if you're staying with your parents or another family member or a boyfriend, you got to get as much data as possible to convince them to spend the money, move, or do something about it. So the best way to find a quality mold inspector. There are two names here. Can you see them? NAMRI and the IICRC.org. Those are two websites where you can search out quality mold inspectors that are certified. You want to call them and you want to ask questions still. I had to call 3 different companies locally that were all certified, but 2 of them wouldn't even come because we hadn't just had roof damage or a basement flood. And they said, well, if you haven't had any water damage, why would you think you have mold? Well, because I just had a nagging feeling and I wanted it checked. You know, if you're having trouble healing or you wonder why you got sick, I got sick 6 months after I moved into that new house, or a year after we got the new job and moved. You know, those are things, those are triggers. Whether they're stress or environmental, you need to really look at the timeline to discover why it happened. So, find a mold inspector. They're usually between $300 and $500 to come do a full home mold test. Inspection. The actual mold test they do costs more than the ones from the hardware store. They're usually between, $29 and $69 per test. But you want to do that. Airborne tests. They usually do a bedroom, a bathroom, a main level, and an outside, and possibly a basement if you also have a basement, at least one on each level of the home. Your bedroom for certain, because that's where you spend a lot of time, the rooms you spend the most time in. And they do an outside airborne test as well, so then they get a baseline for the molds that are in your area. So that they don't, that's a qualification and sets a benchmark for the rest of the interior tests. It does cost a little bit more to do that, but it's really important. Now, the only circumstance in which you wouldn't do that, in our case, so the gentleman was doing the mold inspection through the whole house. He found a window that was not properly installed, that had been leaking down the inside of the wall in one bedroom, a laundry room that had an old leak that just needed the subfloor replaced. It wasn't an ongoing, growing problem. Those are 2 small problems. He said, I don't think that really captures the problems you're describing with your allergies and all the health problems you're having. So when he got down to the basement and inspected our heating and air conditioning system, he found the problem. There was mold growing on the inside of the air conditioning coil on the insulation. So it was blowing mold spores through our entire house when we turned the air or the heat on all year long. So at that point, we didn't do any interior air tests because it was in every room. We had to pull out carpet, do all kinds of cleaning and replace things, but it was necessary because it was blowing mold spores and had been for however many years. So I just encourage you to do the research to find where the source of the mold is. If you have a home with crawl space, my parents, they had mold growing on the insulation in their crawl space from a water leak that had happened through the foundation of the home. If you are over a basement or crawl space, you could have a whole different myriad of challenges with regard to mold. If you are a slab foundation, you probably have less issue, but there could still be faulty building that could cause a leak under the sliding glass door. There was another leak in our house that the mold inspector didn't even find. We found it whenever we installed new flooring because of the mold. So, the mold inspectors do a great job, but they can't look inside the walls. They look for evidence outside the walls and behind baseboards and around windows to see what they can determine. But those are the first steps I would do. And it's imperative that you do your research, talk to your doctor, and get a quality mold remediation company. Again, you can get information on a quality mold remediation company on these websites. You do not want the same person to do the inspection that does the remediation. That is a conflict of interest. You can, however, ask your mold inspector for the companies that do the best job mold remediating, because they come back and do an inspection after the remediation is done and make sure it's clear. And the mold inspectors know the companies that are the highest integrity and do the best quality work. And that's what you would want as an opinion, but do your own research. Get more than one bid if you need to, and make sure for us, the mold articles say that you can HEPA vacuum the carpet and it should be fine. If you've got black mold, one of the doctors that I talked to said if you've got Stachybotrys black mold in your house, then you leave naked without the clothes on your back and burn everything on your way. And don't go back in that house. So depending on what kind of mold you find, we did not have black mold. We just had overgrowth of multiple strains of aspergillus and some other molds that were, of course, dangerous to us, but were not the black mold. But what we chose to do was not just HEPA vacuum our carpet. We chose to pull it out and put in hardwood. We preferred hardwood anyway. It just tipped us over the edge of making the decision. We did get rid of a set of couches, but they were leather. They were not upholstery. Our mattresses were already bagged, so we felt we were pretty safe there. I laundered all the drapes and all of our clothes and all of our everything else, and just did a really thorough cleaning. Washed the walls. I called it extra cleaning help to come do that. You've got to get the toxic stuff out of your environment. Now, if it's a workplace problem, I am so sorry to have to say this, but you have to do something. You can't work in that workplace if there are toxic mold issues. You need to bring it to the building maintenance attention and hope that they do something about it and take care of your environment so that you can get well. Thanks for listening.